My mom refused to watch my kids during a work emergency, looked me in the face and said, "Figure it out. I'm not rearranging my life for you." That same night, she happily babysat my brother's kids for free. I didn't fight her or beg again. I changed one thing she counted on, and by breakfast, she was already calling. Hey, before we get started, if you've been enjoying the channel, subscribing is the one thing that actually makes a difference for us. It's free. It takes a second, and it helps us keep doing this. And if you just hit that button, thank you for subscribing. It really does mean a lot. All right, here we go. She told me to figure it out, so I did. I figured out childcare. I figured out the work emergency. And then I figured out something else. Something I should have figured out a long time ago. The $1,400 I send her every month, or the insurance premium I cover, the car payment I've been quietly handling since last March. I figured out what would happen if all of that stopped. Not as punishment, not as revenge, as the natural consequence of being told that my problems are mine to solve. If my problems are mine, then so are hers. My name is Nathan. I am 34 years old. I have 2 kids. Lily is 5, Jack is 3. My wife Laura was in Philadelphia that week helping her sister recover from surgery. I was on solo parent duty, and on a Tuesday evening in October, my mother taught me the most expensive lesson of my life. It cost her $2,200 a month. Let me tell you about the money first, because the money is the thing she forgot was voluntary. 2 years ago, my mother's income dropped when she went part-time. She called me, not Kevin, me. Well, she said she was behind on the mortgage. She asked if I could help for a month or two. A month or two turned into 2 years. It started as $1,400 a month for the mortgage. Then I picked up the car payment when the rate adjusted. Then the insurance when hers lapsed. Each one started the same way. She would mention the problem in front of me, casually like weather, and I would pick it up because that's what I do. Total monthly support, $2,200. She knows about the $1,400. She doesn't know about the rest. I added those quietly because discussing her finances always ended with me apologizing. Kevin pays nothing. He lives 20 minutes from her. He visits more. He calls on Sundays. He's warm and easy to be around. She has never asked Kevin for money because she never needed to. I already covered everything. Or I started keeping track of something else in February. Not money, availability. Every time I asked my mother to watch Lily and Jack, and every time Kevin asked her to watch his kids. Not out of bitterness, out of the need to see the pattern clearly before I could believe it was real. By October, the count was 14-0. 14 times my mother said no to me. 0 times she said no to Kevin. 14 different excuses. I'm tired. Not tonight. I have plans. Ask your brother. You need to figure out your own childcare. 0 excuses needed for Kevin because she never needed one. She just said yes. Now let me tell you about Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. My phone rang. My project manager, Dave. His voice had the tight edge of a man delivering news he didn't want to deliver. Nathan, the Henderson migration is failing. Live, right now. Client data is mid-transfer and the process crashed. I need you online in 30 minutes or we lose the account. The Henderson account is 40% of our firm's quarterly revenue. This was not a request to check an email. This was a career-level emergency. I needed 90 minutes at my laptop with a secure connection and no interruptions. Lily was on the living room floor building something out of Legos. Jack was in his high chair smearing yogurt across the tray with both hands and singing a song with no words. Laura was 800 miles away in a hospital waiting room. I ran through the list in my head. Friends who might help on no notice. Neighbors I knew well enough to ask. People who might answer a call at 6:45 on a Tuesday evening and say yes to a stranger's request. The list was short. It had one name at the top. Now, one person who lives 11 minutes from my house. One person who has told me, more times than I can count, "I'm always here for you." I picked up my phone. I looked at my mother's contact. I almost didn't call. Some part of me already knew the answer. Some part of me had known the answer since February when I started counting. But I called anyway because you don't stop hoping your mother will be your mother until she gives you no choice. 6:47 p.m. I called my mother. "Mom, I need help. Laura's in Philly. I have a work emergency. A major client situation. I need you to come watch the kids for 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. She sighed, the sigh she uses when I am an item on a to-do list she didn't want to open. I can't tonight, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Mom, this is serious. I could lose a major account. The whole project is failing right now. I just need you for 90 minutes. I'll have them in pajamas by the time you get here. You can sit on the couch. They'll watch a movie. You won't even have to do anything. Nathan, I'm 61 years old. I can't drop everything every time you call. You need to learn to manage your own life. I'm not your backup plan. You're not my backup plan. You're my mother. I'm asking you for one favor. 90 minutes. I'm sorry, I just can't. Not tonight. Mom, please. Figure it out, Nathan. I'm not rearranging my life for you. She hung up. Not me. Her. She ended the call the way you end a conversation with a telemarketer, with finality, with the energy of someone who has already moved on to the next thing on her evening. I sat in my kitchen for 45 seconds. Lily was on the living room floor building a Lego tower. Jack was in his high chair smearing yogurt across the tray with both hands and singing a song that had no words. My phone was in my hand. My career was on a countdown. And the person who told me 100 times that she would always be there for me had just told me to figure it out. I didn't call her back. I didn't text. I didn't beg. Something in me shifted during those 45 seconds. Not anger, something quieter. The sound a door makes when it closes for the last time and you don't reach for the handle. I called Dana. Dana is a woman from my office who lives 20 minutes away. We have worked on the same team for 3 years. I have never asked her for a personal favor. She has never asked me for one. We are friendly in the way coworkers are friendly. Yes, we eat lunch in the same break room. We say good morning. We have never been to each other's houses. I called her at 7:05 p.m. and said the most awkward sentence of my adult life. Dana, I know this is insane, and I'm sorry to call you like this. I have a work emergency. The Henderson migration is crashing. My wife is in Philadelphia. My mom can't help. I have 2 kids, 5 and 3, and I need someone to watch them for about 2 hours so I can get on my laptop and fix this. You're the only person I could think of. She said, give me your address. I'll be there in 35 minutes. No conditions, no guilt, no lecture about managing my life. No sigh. No, I'm tired. Just yes. The word my mother couldn't say. Dana arrived at 7:40 p.m. She had a bag, not a fancy bag, a grocery bag from the store. Inside it, goldfish crackers. 2 juice boxes. A coloring book her own daughter had outgrown. She packed a bag for my kids. A co-worker I've never had dinner with packed a snack bag for my children on 40 minutes notice. My mother, who lives 11 minutes away and has known these children since birth, told me to figure it out. Lily looked at Dana and said, "Are you Daddy's friend?" Dana smiled. "Yeah, I'm Daddy's friend. Do you want to see my Lego tower?" "I would love to see your Lego tower." I was at my laptop by 7:45. The migration was stabilized by 9:30. The Henderson account was saved. 105 minutes of focused work that saved 40% of our firm's quarterly revenue. My manager texted me at 10 p.m. "You saved us tonight. Seriously, thank you." I read the message on my phone while my kids were asleep on the couch next to Dana. Arn, who was reading a paperback she had brought in her purse. Jack was curled into her side with his thumb in his mouth. Lily was wrapped in a blanket with her head on a pillow. They were safe. They were comfortable. They were watched over by a woman who said yes on a Tuesday night, because that is what people do when someone asks for help. Now let me tell you about the other call. 8:15 p.m. While I was hunched over my laptop fighting to save a client's data, Kevin's wife Rachel picked up her phone and called my mother. "Hey Mom, Kevin and I want to catch a movie tonight. Can you watch the kids for a few hours?" My mother said yes before the sentence was finished. I know this because Kevin mentioned it casually the following weekend. He said Mom came over Tuesday night so Rachel and I could see that new movie. She's so great with the kids. He said it like weather, like it was normal. Because for Kevin, it is normal. My mother packed a bag, goldfish crackers, juice boxes, coloring books, the portable DVD player she keeps in her hall closet. She packed it with care. She drove 20 minutes to Kevin's house. She walked in with energy and a smile. 2 hours after telling me she was too tired to sit on my couch for 90 minutes. I found out about the other call on Saturday, but I saw the evidence on Tuesday night. 9:14 p.m. I was driving home from Dana's house. Both kids were in the back seat. Jack was asleep. Lily was tired but awake, looking out the window at streetlights. Kevin's street is on the route home. I wasn't planning to drive down it, but Lily said, "Daddy, can we go past Uncle Kevin's? Sorry, I want to see if the pumpkin is still on the porch." I turned onto the street, and there it was. My mother's car, parked in Kevin's driveway, engine cold, windows dark. She had been there for a while. The porch light was on. Through the front window, I could see the TV flickering blue against the walls and the shape of something small under a blanket on the couch. A child's shape, one of Kevin's kids, settled, comfortable, watched over by a grandmother who had packed a bag and driven 20 minutes to be there. 2.5 hours ago, that same woman told me she was too tired to drive 11 minutes. I pulled over. Not to confront, not to knock on the door. I pulled over because my hands were shaking on the steering wheel and I needed them steady before I drove my children home. I sat in the parked car with the engine running. The street was quiet. October air coming through the cracked window. My daughter's face in the rearview mirror, looking at her grandmother's car with nothing but curiosity. "Look, Daddy, Grandma's car is at Uncle Kevin's house." She said it the way a 5-year-old says everything, with the brightness of someone who has not yet learned that the things they notice are sometimes the things adults are trying not to see. "Are we going to see Grandma?" "Not tonight, baby, but she's right there." "I know, not tonight." I pulled away. My grip on the steering wheel left marks in the leather. I drove the rest of the way home in silence. Not the silence of a man who is angry, the silence of a man who is watching something he believed about his life rearrange itself into a shape he can no longer ignore. Lily fell asleep in the car 2 minutes from home. I carried her inside. I carried Jack from his car seat without waking him. I put him in his crib. I brushed Lily's teeth while she was half asleep, and she mumbled something about Grandma and pumpkins, and I said, "We'll talk about it tomorrow." I closed her bedroom door. I walked to the living room. I sat on the couch. The house was completely quiet, the kind of quiet that only happens when children are sleeping and you are alone with something you have been carrying for years and have finally set down on the table in front of you and are looking at for the first time. 10:30 p.m. I texted Dana, "Thank you. You saved my night." She texted back, "That's what people do." 6 words. 6 words that described everything my mother's philosophy was missing. That's what people do. Not family. Not obligation. Not guilt. People. People show up. People bring bags. People say yes when someone calls at 7 p.m. and asks for help. People do that. My mother is a person. She just doesn't do it for me. 11 p.m. I opened my laptop. Not to work. The Henderson account was saved. This was different. I opened my banking app. I looked at the recurring transfers, 3 of them, running on the 1st of every month. The mortgage payment to her account, the car payment, the insurance premium. 3 lines on a screen, 3 pieces of an invisible structure I built under my mother's life. I scrolled back through the transfer history. I had never done this before. I had avoided looking at the total the way you avoid a scale after a bad month. I scrolled through months, then through years. The numbers accumulated on the screen. The total was north of $80,000. I sat with that number. $80,000. Sent to a woman who lives 11 minutes away and told me she was too tired to drive the distance. I canceled the mortgage transfer. The screen asked, "Are you sure?" I pressed confirm. I canceled the insurance payment. Confirm. I canceled the car payment. Confirm. 11 minutes. 7 years of support removed in 11 minutes. I did it the way you close accounts you no longer need. No hesitation, no second guessing. I knew it was right because my daughter's voice was still in my head saying, "Grandma's car is at Uncle Kevin's house." And that voice was louder than any guilt my mother had ever installed in me. I closed the laptop. The screen went dark. I sat in the quiet living room. The world looked the same. But the pipeline of money that ran from my life to hers for 7 years was shut off. I went to bed. I slept better than I had in months. My phone started ringing at 7:15 the next morning. I let it go. She called again. and again. By 8 a.m., 6 calls. By 9 a.m., 8. The voicemails escalated from confused to concerned to irritated to panicked. Nathan, something happened with my electric bill. It bounced. Then, I don't know what's going on, but you need to call me right now. Then, this isn't funny. The last one was 4 seconds of breathing and a hang-up. I made breakfast for my kids. Lily had waffles. Jack had banana slices and Cheerios. I drank my coffee. The phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't look at it. I picked up at noon, on my schedule, when I was ready. She was mid-sentence before I finished saying hello. I said my electric bill bounced. My insurance payment didn't go through. Something is wrong with the bank. What is happening? I canceled them. Silence. The kind that happens when a person hears something their brain has no category for. You canceled what? The transfers, the insurance, the car payment, all of it. Why would you do that? Because last night you told me to figure it out, so I figured everything out, including what your life looks like without me in it. Nathan, what are you talking about? I called you at 6:47 last night. I had a work emergency. Laura was in Philadelphia. I needed you for 90 minutes. You said you were tired. You said I need to learn to manage my own life. You said figure it out. I was tired. You were tired at 6:47. At 8:15, Rachel called you and you packed a snack bag, goldfish crackers, juice boxes, the DVD player from your hall closet. You drove 20 minutes to Kevin's house and watched his 3 kids for the entire evening. You were not tired, Mom. You were choosing, and now I'm choosing too. She was quiet for a long time. Then she pivoted. I knew she would. This is the part of the conversation she has trained for her entire life. You're punishing me. You're using money to control me. After everything I've done for you. I've sent you $2,200 a month for 2 years. I covered your mortgage, your car, your insurance. I've put over $80,000 into your household. And last night you wouldn't sit on my couch for 90 minutes so I could save my job. I'm not punishing you. I'm done funding a life that doesn't include me when I need it. That is not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Oh, you told me to figure it out. I figured it out. Your mortgage, your car, your insurance. Figure it out. She started crying. I listened, not because I was unmoved, because I had heard these tears before. They come at the exact moment in every confrontation when logic fails and emotion is the only weapon left. They have worked on me for 34 years. They did not work today. I'm your mother. You can't just cut me off. I asked you for 90 minutes. You gave Kevin's family the whole night. I asked during an emergency. He asked for a movie. You packed a bag for his kids. You didn't pack anything for mine. My daughter saw your car in his driveway on the way home. She asked me why Grandma was at Uncle Kevin's house when Grandma was too tired to help us. I didn't have an answer. Do you? She didn't answer. Don't call me about money. Mom, call the son you packed the bag for. I hung up. Within 24 hours, she had called Kevin, Aunt Patricia, and 2 cousins. Her version of the story arrived before mine could. Nathan is withholding money to punish me because I couldn't babysit one night. She removed the context. She removed Kevin's call. She removed the snack bag. She removed the $80,000. She stripped the story down to one sentence. Ungrateful son cuts off his elderly mother over babysitting. Kevin called me that afternoon. Mom says you cut her off. What happened? Ask her what she did last Tuesday night. Then call me back. He called back 2 hours later. Different voice. I didn't know you were paying her mortgage, or the car, or the insurance. 7 years, over $80,000. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I thought if I kept helping, she'd treat us the same eventually. She didn't. She says you're being extreme. $80,000 over 7 years, and she won't watch my kids for 90 minutes. What's extreme is that it took me this long to stop. Kevin talked to our mother. He asked about the babysitting. She said he was exaggerating. He said, Rachel called you at 8:15 that night. You came to our house with a snack bag. She didn't respond. Kevin said, Mom, he's not wrong about this. First time anyone in the family had said those words to her. The next morning, Lily asked a question at breakfast that I will carry for the rest of my life. She was eating a waffle. Jack was in his high chair sorting Cheerios by some system only 3-year-olds understand. I was pouring coffee. The kitchen was quiet, normal. When a Wednesday morning that felt like any other, except nothing was the same. Daddy? Yeah, baby. Does Grandma like Uncle Kevin's kids more than us? I set down the coffee pot. I looked at my daughter, 5 years old, hair still messy from sleep, waffle syrup on her chin, asking the one question I had been avoiding for years. The question that a child should never have to assemble in her head and deliver across a breakfast table to a father who doesn't have an answer. No, baby, Grandma loves you very much. She looked at me. She chewed her waffle. Then she said, but she goes to their house. She doesn't come to ours. She's been busy lately. She wasn't busy at Uncle Kevin's house. She was there. I saw the car. I had nothing. No answer that didn't require telling a 5-year-old that her grandmother's love has a direction and she isn't in it. So I did what parents do when the truth is too heavy for the table. I said, eat your waffle, baby. She ate her waffle. She didn't ask again that morning, but the question didn't leave the kitchen when she went to school. It sat in the air above the breakfast table, and it was still there when I came home that night. That was the morning I understood something I had been avoiding. The favoritism had reached a place I couldn't fix with money or silence or tolerance. My daughter was building a map of the world in her head, and on that map, Grandma was a person who shows up for certain children and not for others. That map was accurate, and it was being drawn by a woman who didn't know she was drawing it and wouldn't admit it if you showed her. I hired a sitter the next day, a college student named Megan who lives 10 minutes away. $15 an hour. Reliable. Shows up when she says she will. Doesn't rank my children below anyone. The system works. It costs money, but it costs less than $2,200 a month. And Megan has never told me to figure it out. Laura came home from Philadelphia on Friday. After the kids were in bed, I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, I'm glad you finally stopped. I've been watching this for years. Why didn't you push harder? Because you had to see it yourself. You had to watch your daughter point at that car. She was right. The weeks after the cutoff were quiet, not hostile, just different. My mother called less, I answered less. The monthly transfers that used to flow from my account to hers were gone. The $2,200 stayed in my checking account. I used some of it to pay Megan. I put the rest into savings for the kids. My mother told the family her version, the stripped-down version. Son cuts off elderly mother over one babysitting request. She removed the snack bag. She removed Kevin's call. She removed the $80,000. She removed the 14-0 count. She built a story where she was the victim and I was the weapon, and she told it to anyone who would listen. Some people believed her. Aunt Patricia called to tell me I was being cruel. I said, I paid her mortgage for 7 years. I paid her car. I paid her insurance. She told me to figure it out when I needed 90 minutes. Then she drove to Kevin's and babysat his kids all night. Is that the story she told you? Patricia was quiet. Then she said, no, that's not what she said. I know, it never is. I stopped explaining after that. I said what I had to say to the people who asked directly, and I let the rest believe whatever version they were given. Because the truth doesn't need a campaign. It just needs one person in the room who knows the real number, and that person was me. My mother came by the house once, about a month after the cutoff. She brought a casserole. She stood on the porch holding it like an offering. I took it. I said thank you. I did not invite her in. She stood there for a moment, waiting for the door to open wider. It didn't. She turned and walked back to her car. I watched her from the window. She sat in the driveway for 2 minutes before she pulled away. It wasn't cruelty. It was the natural distance that forms between two people when one of them has been told they don't belong and finally believes it. Then Lily came home from school with a drawing. Art class assignment. Draw your family. She drew 4 people. Daddy, tall, brown hair, mommy, blonde, smiling, Jack, small, round head, big eyes, and Dana. Brown hair and a ponytail, holding a bag, not Grandma. Dana. The woman who showed up with goldfish crackers and juice boxes on a Tuesday night at 7:40 p.m. because that's what people do. I looked at the drawing for a long time. My daughter drew the people who show up. She drew the people who answer the phone. She drew the people who pack bags for her, not for someone else's kids. Grandma was not in the picture. Not because Lily was angry. Not because anyone told her to leave Grandma out. Because when a 5-year-old thinks about who her family is, she thinks about who came. A child's crayon drew the line I should have drawn years ago. I put the picture on the refrigerator. It's still there. Thanks for staying until the end. If this one hits something, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.